You know, with what comes that salvation lies within too, and considering all of the ramifications that surround the main event of the entire weekend, an astronomical statistic has just occurred to me. Women's professional wrestling as a whole has existed for over 42,000 days as of today. Roughly 115 years. I mean, what once began as a sideshow attraction at carnivals has transcended beyond novelty, beyond ridicule, beyond limitations. It's reshaped not just women's wrestling, but women's athletics, period. See, over a century ago in dusty halls at carnival tents, when women weren't celebrated, they were ridiculed. I mean, decade after decade, those athletes were forced to fight for scraps of opportunity and for respect that was rarely given, and for a place in a business that never wanted them to succeed. And yet they endured. They endured through closed doors, through exploitation, through being told they didn't belong. And when the bright lights dimmed, it was the independents, the tiny gyms, the small arenas, the overlooked promotions that kept women's wrestling alive. It was in those places where the fire burned the hottest, where the foundation for today was forged, where no spotlight meant no excuses. It was there that the movement survived until the world had no choice but to acknowledge it.
When Ring of Valiance first opened its doors, the women's division wasn't promised a spotlight. It wasn't promised respect. What it had was grit, trial, and error. Over the years, many women came, many women went. Some chasing dreams, others walking away when the road got too hard. But only 3 have endured long enough, fought long enough, survived long enough to stand as main event material today. Lorelei Albrecht, a woman who crawled out of horrors most wouldn't dare whisper about, both in an asylum and in her own home, and turned her pain into raw power. Penny Shaw, once chasing basketball glory only to have her knees betray her, yet she reinvented herself, became a wrestler, and rose to the very top of this company. And Alessia Marcano, Lorelei's own sister, scarred by the same shadows, who despite being brash, insubordinate, and even reckless at times, has shown the one quality this company values most: loyalty.
In today's dictionaries, if you were to look up obsessed, driven, and hell-bent, you would see a picture of Lorelei Albrecht's face next to those words. At Buckle Up 2019, she beat Deshaun Walton to claim the World Heavyweight Championship. While pregnant, while her knee was already failing her. Alessia Marcano may have nudged fate in her favor, but Lorelei still carried the weight of that victory. By Revival, the next grand spectacle that summer, reality forced her hand. Pregnancy and injury stripped her of the belt she had never lost in combat. Now, after childbirth and endless pain, she's back, determined to reclaim what she believes is rightfully hers. Doctors warned she could lose her ability to walk, but Lorelei doesn't care. To her, it's simple. Either she leaves with the championship, or she leaves broken. That is obsession defined.
I wasn't so sure on whether or not I wanted to speak on this matter, but considering I called the most recent World Championship match on this network as well as its aftermath, I feel a conversation needs to be had in regards to who truly deserves to be the World Heavyweight Champion. And that person truly, in my heart of hearts, is Penny Shaw. Now don't get me wrong, I love my nieces Lorelei and Alessia. They've been through hell, they've endured things no woman, no person should ever have to endure. And Harper Walton, I've got all the admiration in the world for her talent. She's young, she's sharp, she's explosive in that ring, but I gotta keep it real. In my respectful opinion, She doesn't deserve to be here. The only reason Harper's even standing in this spot is because of who her father is. And let's not forget, she wouldn't have won that Money in the Bank match or consequential comeuppance had her father and sisters not gotten involved. That's just the truth. But again, had they not done so, the main event of Salvation Lies Within 2 would look a whole lot different than it does right now. So yeah, I'll say it plain. Penny Shaw is the rightful world heavyweight champion. That's a hill I'll proudly die on. Because here's the difference. Penny didn't lean on her family the way these other three combatants did. No. Her career was damn near ended after a backstage assault left her questioning if she'd ever step foot in a ring again. But instead of folding, she rebuilt herself. She became more of a machine. Well-oiled, sharper, tougher. And that's what carried her to winning the world championship in the first place, even against her own daughter, Leona. And you know what burns me, what makes my blood boil, is what Alessia did right after. She selfishly, inexplicably assaulted Tarina McCarthy and her so-called best friend Penny Shaw the same night Penny won the world championship, and then ran off with the damn title in her grasp like a thief in the night. That wasn't hunger, and that wasn't ambition. That was treachery for the sake of being champion. But let me remind you all, wanting it and deserving it are two different things. And the only one who deserves to carry that gold after all the hard work she's put in is Penny Shaw.
You know, this one means something different to me. I've trained with all four of these women at different points in their careers. I've seen their drive, their determination, their persistence, and the mental fortitude it takes to step into the fire. Every single one of them has the tools to be world champion. But if you'd told me 6 years ago that Penny Shaw, Alessia Marcano, and Lorelei Albrecht would share the main event of the grandest of all grand spectacles, and that standing across from them would be a young upstart like Harper Walton, a woman not even near her prime, a woman who rose faster than the three I just mentioned, a woman who's 16, 17 years their junior, I would have called you insane. Yet here we are. And somehow all four have, in their own way, revolutionized the way the world looks at women's wrestling. Penny, Alessia, and Lorelei, they've got the edge of experience. But Harper's got youth, and that's a weapon none of them can counter. Lorelei's body has been through wars. Penny and Alessia still have time left, sure. But Harper's career hasn't even truly started yet, and already the name she's made for herself speaks louder than most who've been here almost a decade. Think back. When Harper first arrived, she made an instant impact, taking down Virgil Snow. Then she went on to qualify for the Money in the Bank on episode 18. By only her third professional match, she was climbing the ladder in Fresno, California at consequential comeuppance and walking out with that briefcase. Not many athletes in wrestling, boxing, or MMA ever get a shot like that so young, but Harper seized it and put the world on notice. When she finally cashed in at CDN Showcase 3 after months of teasing, the air was electric. You could feel it in your chest. You could hear it in the crowd. But behind the curtain, Harper was terrified. She was seen throwing up in Gorilla before her music hit, because for the first time since her debut, she doubted herself. And yet, she walked out there and gave the performance of her life. When that referee's hand hit 3, the pop shook the ground. The world had its new champion. And then, politics, corporate games. Penny Shaw, Alessia Marcano, before Harper even had the chance to defend the championship, it was ripped from her hands. The audience nearly rioted that night. That's how betrayed they felt watching Harper be robbed. Now, as much as Penny, Alessia, and Lorelai have accomplished, and believe me, their legacies are undeniable, they aren't spring chickens anymore. Harper is the future, backed by a tidal wave of fan support. But the only question is this. Will youth, will hunger, will that groundswell of people behind her be enough to finally put the World Heavyweight Championship back where she believes it belongs? At Salvation Lies Within 2, we're going to find out.
You look at this main event for Salvation Lies Within 2. Penny Shaw, Alessia Marcano, Lorelai Albrecht, Harper Walton, and truth be told, it could be anyone's night. Penny's resilience, Lorelai's obsession, Alessia's fire, Harper's youth. All four bring something different to the table, and that's what makes this match unpredictable. This ain't a case where one woman towers above the rest. This is four meteors colliding in the same sky. And I'll tell you this, there's a buzz in the locker room that I haven't felt in years. Every competitor on this roster is watching closely, waiting to see who's gonna emerge as the face of the division, maybe even the company itself. Excitement doesn't even begin to cover it. This is history in motion and everyone knows it. But make no mistake, excitement isn't the only emotion in the air. There's fear too. Because of the stipulations in place, not just for Alessia and Lorelai, but for the network as a whole, this isn't just about who wins and loses. It's about survival, careers, reputations, even the future of this brand hang in the balance. And when the stakes climb that high, you can bet every woman in that ring and every man and woman in the back is holding their breath. Excited? Yes. But terrified all the same.
You know, it's one thing to sit here and talk about this match like it's just another headline on the marquee, but I can't. I've been in there with Penny Shaw. Episode 20. Gave her everything I had and I still walked out with the L. Yo, that woman has a fire, a ruthlessness, and I'll tell you firsthand, she don't back down from anybody. So when I look at this field, Penny, Lorelai, Harper, and Alessia, I don't just see names. I see storm fronts colliding. But then you pile the stipulations on top of that. Councilwoman Artemis Abramo dropping the corporate hammer on Lorelai Albrecht, saying if Lorelai loses at all leading up to and even at Salvation Lies Within 2, then because of that shambled left knee of hers, because of years of neglect to her own well-being, and because of her overlooking the well-being of her family, she'd be forced into retirement, forced to finally get that knee surgery, and forced to go back to the Frankfurt Mental Asylum until her mother Frida deems her fit to return. That ain't just pressure. That's a damn death sentence for a woman who only knows how to fight. But considering the stipulation that sovereignty champion and founder Deshaun Walton himself put in place, that if Alessia Marcano doesn't win, CNW is canceled and everybody is fired from the Carpe Diem network, free to do around the industry as they wish, it only further unnecessarily complicates things. Not just for Alessia, but for Penny, for Lorelai, and for Harper, Deshaun's own daughter. And yeah, I get it. I understand what comes if Alessia walks out champion. There's stability, there's survival, there's proof that CNW can stand tall. But damn it, I can't ignore how unfairly heavy this weight is on everyone's shoulders. The locker room feels it. The fans feel it. Even the combatants themselves feel it. And that's what makes this match so terrifying. Not just the violence we're bound to see, but the fallout none of us could truly control.
Knowing that I'm the younger brother of one of the participants in this match, and knowing what's on the line for all four of these women, out of respect for them, I'm going to be completely unbiased in my approach on this subject. We've had a slew of last matches on the Carpe Diem network over the years. Yet somehow the fire is reignited every time those defending the sacredness of this brand come out on top. But considering not just the stipulations of the match itself, but also the ramifications of what's been transpiring outside of the professional wrestling landscape, not just for the world champion and her challengers, but also for Sovereignty champion Deshaun Walton, this is an entirely different tide, an entirely different feel. I mean, personal issues involving Deshaun, the animosity between he and his daughter Harper because of his rekindled love for Alessia Marcano after his divorce from Amanda, and his ongoing struggle with the four combatants, Alessia especially when it comes to the World Heavyweight Championship of Ring of Valiance Wrestling, begrudgingly perfectly encapsulates just how much the World Heavyweight title means in the end. This is the first time in 25 years a main event on the grand stage features four world champions, and the first time that a championship the caliber of the Sovereignty Championship, our option C, could potentially shift the entire landscape of not just this match, but the frankly earth-shattering decision and promise Deshaun made to Amanda during a time that seems like ages ago. Penny Shaw. She sees the World Heavyweight Championship as proof that her grit, her stubbornness, and her willingness to bleed means something. Lorelei Albrecht, she sees it as salvation itself, the last tether keeping her from complete ruin. Harper Walton, she sees it as independence, a symbol that she is more than just her father's daughter, more than the legacy she was born into. And Alessia Marcano, she sees it as destiny, the culmination of not just a fight for herself, but for the very survival of the Carpe Diem network. And then there's the Sovereignty Championship, a belt designed to stand as our option C, much like the X Division title once did, but stripped of the cruiserweight theatrics. It's the crown jewel of opportunity, the one title that can change careers, and in this case, change history. But here's the epiphany. Every champion defeated in this company, mid-card or not, has the right to a rematch. Every single one. And Deshaun Walton, the Sovereignty champion himself, has yet to receive his rematch for the ROV World Heavyweight Championship. So the question has to be asked. What does this championship mean? Not just to Penny, Lorelei, Harper, and Alessia, but to Deshaun himself, and more importantly, to the existence of the Carpe Diem network. ROV has had many last matches in its time. Legends, icons, even dynasties have walked that path, but this This doesn't just feel like another race to the finish line. It really feels like the end of the road. This could potentially be the last one. Period. Not just the last of the race. The last one we'll ever see. And that reality should terrify every single person watching.
Whatever nerves I had before now are long gone. I'm excited. But more importantly, I'm going to finish the race as the champion, as was always the intention.
Don't expect the underdog. Don't expect the friend. Don't expect the woman who used to hope this division would evolve with unity. Expect the Terminator. Expect the Storm. Because Penny Shaw doesn't lose what belongs to her twice.
When the dust clears, when the lights dim, and this rebel absent cause era draws its last breath, there will be no more interim. There will be no more paper. There will be no more politics. There will be no more what ifs. There won't even be any more Big 3. Because it'll be just Big Me. The true, final, and only World Heavyweight Champion of this era. The she-wolf who crawled through the filth, bared her teeth, and took back what always belonged to her.
Harper, you're a bright kid with an equally bright future. But it's not your time. Penelope, we've gone to war in rings with each other before. But you and I both know that it will never be your time to be champion. But Alessia, the time for playing pretend is over. The trail of bodies grows larger, and the race is almost finished. And when I accomplish my dream, all of your heads will go on the mantle above my fireplace. But the journey won't stop with just you three, because Mr. Prez, I'm watching you.
The stipulation for the World Heavyweight Championship match at SLW2 is this. If Lorelei loses, she retires, goes back to the asylum, and has to get knee surgery. However, if you lose, Carpe Noctem Wrestling is officially canceled before it even begins, and everyone on the Carpe Diem network, especially Amanda, will be fired from this brand immediately and free to do as they wish around the business.
Why the hell are you giving me that look that says there's always an option C? Exactly.
You just answered your own question, Alessia, baby. Like Brad Pitt said, everything gwan be irie. It's gonna go exactly how I envision. And that's what's so beneficial about being Sovereignty Champion. I'm below the radar. I'm basically persona non grata to the naked eye.
You really make shit difficult sometimes, Deshaun. You really do. The respect I deserve as a women's wrestler, as your World Heavyweight Champion, as the motherfucking unhinged crow, Alessia Bruna motherfucking Marcano!
Or else you'll never get your fairy tale happy ending.